Now you look even sharper.
There he is.
I got to go black and white. This is like too cool.
It is so cool. Do you know how to do it? You want me to show you?
Sure.
Okay. Go to your video icon, bottom left, the little arrow up button,
Okay.
and then go to choose virtual background,
Mm-hmm.
and then go to video filters. It says virtual backgrounds, video filters, avatars. Click video filters, and then
Where's the filter?
this,
Oh, there it is. Okay.
yeah, and then there's none, and then there's a boost, and then the third one in noir,
Oh,
that
yeah.
gray one. Click on that. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see what happens. Yo, how you like it?
It is pretty cool. I've never actually played with any of these. So,
It actually looks
uh,
better that we're both, black and white.
okay. Well, we'll do that.
You look good.
All right. Well, yeah, this will capture attention. That's for sure.
Let's go. You
All
gotta
right. Well,
shake
let's
things
go.
up, man. The enemy's
You
trying
know,
to shake
I,
up technology, so
dude, you always hear this. This never happened before. This has never happened before. But more and more, it's like that's actually true. Anyway, we're all kind of tech files, so it usually is pretty seamless. But anyway, I'm just grateful that you've pivoted at the times that you have. And first it was, you had the new life coming in your family, and
uh-huh.
then this. I
It
respect the fact that everybody's busy, and I understand that.
Yeah,
So
it took like a month of back and forth to get it locked in with Chantel, and then the times were out of sync today, and I was like, if you read the text thread, we confirmed for this date on March 31 at this time, and she's like, yes, we did. Unfortunately, we have a new calendar booking system and user error, blah blah blah, and then
that we pay more for, and
uh,
it's
but that's how it happens. And then she's like, do you want to pick another day and time? And I'm like, no, because I don't want to
good.
go
I was
through a month
glad.
of picking
Yeah,
stuff. So let me just
yeah.
work my day out. And yeah, I had to move stuff around. Very inconvenient. Here we are. Let's go.
Here, okay. Well, here
I'm
we
here to
are.
serve you and your people, man.
Well, I'm here to serve you also.
Nope. I'm here
So,
for nothing. I want nothing.
all right. Well, okay, let's get started then. Welcome everyone to and actually, hang on. Let me make sure we are as we should be, how this is going to display. We should be going left, right? Let me see here.
Yep.
Because
I
I don't
have.
use this.
Well, being it's on my link. Tell me
Hmm.
how you want it. Right now, it's in gallery view, so we're side by side.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. So that's how it will show
Okay,
up side by side. And
great.
it's recording right now, so we'll clip it
Good.
wherever you want to
Yeah,
start.
that's totally
Good.
cool. Okay, let's see. Are you on my right? Or if I'm looking at the
I am
screen,
on
yeah.
the right and you are on the left, which is exactly what you want. The host should
Yeah,
be on the left.
that's exactly it. Okay, perfect.
You're
Let's
the
go.
host. This is your show,
All
man.
right. I know. Thank you. Hey, all right. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Catholic Patriot. And I'm really delighted to finally get on our podcast someone that God put into my life just kind of out of nowhere. And usually when that happens, good things happen. His name is Joseph Warren. He's got a long list of credentials, I would say, especially for what he does. One, I'd say he's first off, he's a big family man. I'll let him talk about that. Secondly, though, he's a huge influencer. He's a life coach, and he focuses on those who are making big impact in the business world, but especially those Christian husbands who are stuck. Doesn't matter where you are in life, how much you're making, but you have if your personal life, your family life's a wreck, it doesn't matter, and that's where Joseph comes in to really, I would say, turn over all the stones that need to be, and then set everything right to make a new foundation. So before I get into anything else with him, I want to introduce Joseph to our podcast. Joseph, welcome as you join us from, I believe, it's Connecticut, right?
No, I'm in Tampa,
Oh,
Florida, man.
Massachusetts. No. Oh, I thought you were
Tampa,
like
Florida, man. I moved from Long Island, which is
Long
really
Island. Okay.
close. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Well, I'm 0 for 2 on that one. You know, judging by your accent, I was like, it's of course it's got to
I don't
be,
have an accent. You have an accent. I don't know what you're talking about. Everybody else
well,
has one.
people,
Yeah.
I know people say that from, to me about New Jersey. And then I say words like tournament. And they're like, okay, hang on. Well, Joseph, it's a pleasure to have you on. I'd like to have you tell us a little bit first about what you do, the things that matter most to you, because everything in your life that I've been looking at is just it's impacting people, and it's sort of
Mm.
like where do all these things weigh? So tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, because you the last time you tried to get this together, there was a new life coming in, and that's where everything stopped. So why don't we start with that?
Yeah, for sure. So we were having a baby. So God has blessed us. We have 3 babies in 4 years of marriage. Got married in 2019. I waited until I was 43 years old to finally mature and make the decision. Right? And God finally brought me my bride. And I was a miserable, lonely mother effer for the majority of my life. And I was chasing success, pleasure, all of it. I got it, and I was miserable. I wanted to pull the trigger, end it all, lost it all, and here we are. Like God did this. So you said, "Hey, I'm watching everything I see about you, whatever," and you're just having all this impact. Yeah, every man is having impact in his life right now, even when he feels least impactful. The problem is, I was having the wrong kind of impact for the first 43 years of my life. I was having negative impact on others around me because of how I was showing up in the world. And it wasn't until recently that God has switched me and flipped me 180 degrees, where now what you're seeing is positive impact in other people's lives, because I finally put an end to selfishness. And I buried that version of me. Now, I'm not perfect. I still show up some selfish here and there, right? But anytime that creeps up in me, I'm aware. I target that. I'm a sniper. I take it out immediately. And I go back to love and serve others. So that's like a little bit about what drives me right now. But it was God that made that transformation in me. There's a whole story there. We'll go wherever you want to lead. But yes, I have a beautiful wife. I got 3 little babies. And I get to coach really highly successful men. Men specifically. Now, when they come to me, they're not all Christian. Some are agnostic, some are atheist. That's just a place in their spiritual journey. And I ask them to pursue truth wherever it leads them. And most men will accept that challenge. And it always leads them to God because He is truth. So I get to see marriages turned around. I get to see, their kids reconnect with them. I get to see them reconnect with God. And it's powerful. And guess what? A result of it all, material stuff, right? They make more money in their businesses because they show up finally disciplined as a man in all areas of their life. And that's attractive. That's sexy. And people want to be around that guy. So that's what I do. I take the guy who's drifting and I turn him into the disciplined guy, the drifter to the disciplined guy. And he just wins in every area.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's really what we need today. One of the things I like to focus on so much is leadership. I think we're living in a vacuum of leaders today, and so many people feel disqualified to lead in any capacity because they look at the brokenness in their life. They feel like, oh, okay, well, God comes in and He's merciful, but they still keep themselves down at such a lower level. And the name of your podcast, which is a number one podcast out there for Catholics and Protestants, and it's called Broken Catholic. And when I saw that, I immediately thought of my hero, Venerable Fulton Sheen. We had I was blessed to be on your podcast talking about that and the influence that he had. And that's what he focused on, though. He took people in their brokenness and he helped them to put it all together so that they could live a life that's worth living. Looking at your life, what was that key moment? Like Fulton Sheen would say, everybody has in their life like 2 big decisive moments that define the rest of it. What was yours?
Yeah, great. So the first one was the negative one that led me down the path of destruction, but it was a decisive moment. I was 8.5 years old. My parents got divorced. My loving home turned into a war zone overnight. I didn't know how to process that as a little boy with an undeveloped brain. Everything just shifted. And for 2 years, my parents fought in custody battles over the kids and where we're going to live. And back then, it was really screwed up, the court systems, right? So you had to like stand in front of attorneys as an 8.5-year-old boy, little Joseph, and which parent do you want to spend the rest of your childhood with? Mommy, sad face mommy over here, or sad face daddy right in front of you, puppy dog eyes. Like, that's effing scarring for a boy. So I had to choose that. My 5 siblings had to choose that. And I remember for all those years, the 2 years of custody battles, the enemy whispered in my ears through my mom and the hurt she was going through and the pain she was going through, kept whispering, your father never loved you. It was all a lie. He's been pretending your whole childhood. Pick me. And man, doesn't that sound like the enemy in the garden
Absolutely.
of paradise? Like, you can't trust God. He's holding something back from you. He's not a good father. Pick me. You could be like God. Follow my leadership. Trust me. And man, it was like that echo in my little life. And little boy brain Joseph made an unconscious decision right there because I felt betrayal from Daddy, who was my Superman, Marine Corps father. Well, if this is true and Daddy never loved me and it's all a lie, then Daddy betrayed me. And man, I felt betrayal, just those daddy wounds go right into my heart. And then, but no, I had to reject it. Like, what if mommy's lying? What if daddy actually really does love me? Well, then what kind of sick mother would say that to her child? Well, then mommy doesn't love me. And mommy wounds were instilled into my heart. And right there, I made an unconscious decision at 8.5 years old, never to love again. Never to let anyone into that place in my heart where they could hurt me in that way. Ever. And that definitive decision, unconscious, of course, painted my entire young adult life, 20s all the way through the 30s, until God came in, found me, pulled me out of the darkness, transformed my life, and now I made the next defining decision, which is brought me into the light. But that was the defining decision that headed me into the darkness and the pit of destruction.
Wow. So, was there a particular event that then happened that for you was like, okay, I am not going to let all of this define who I am moving forward? I remember listening to another powerful influencer like yourself. I think it was Ed Milet. And
I like Ed.
Yeah,
and my solid.
Wife, he is. My wife Chantal, who you know, she said, Peter, you have to listen to this, and I did. And he had a similar past in the sense that his past.
That's why I connect with him. Yeah,
it's so powerful. And then he talked about near the end this transitional character, where you are in your long lineage, going back. Who knows when? He's like, at some point, there's a transition. Somebody makes a decision either to go from, like, we're not going to be a poor family anymore. We're going to be successful, wealthy, those kinds of things. Another one might be, we're going to embrace our faith. And, it sets a whole new trajectory from there. Was there a particular moment where for you, you're like, that's when that started, from the darkness, then like, I'm going on this path. And then now, of course, you're coaching people through these kinds of, crises and major obstacles.
Yeah, good question, right? So Ed Milet, he speaks about in his new book, Be the One, right? Like, you are the one in your family that will put an end to passing on all this toxicity, all this dysfunction, the sins of the father. Be that person. Be the one. You don't have to pass it on to your kids, right? So yes, I made that decision early on as I was headed into the darkness, but in this regard. I grew up in poverty. I grew up barely getting by. Like, dad did the best he could, but man, like, there was 6 kids and his wife, and it was like, we just lived, eating liver like 3 or 4 nights a week. I hate liver to this day. Hate it, despise it. It's disgusting. It's foul, right? But it's like, I made that decision, never again. I want 3 things in my life. I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be healthy, and I'm going to be wealthy. And that's where I chose, without knowing I was choosing, I'm going to be the one in my family that ends up rich and wealthy, and I'm not doing this poverty thing. And in order to do that, I had to break out of the negativity of my environment, of my family, and branch out on my own and go into business. And I moved away, right, from New York to Chicago, right? And we started the business, and we did $2 million in the first 12 months, right? And I was on my way.
Hmm.
But I cut everything. I threw the baby out with the bathwater. I severed ties with mom and dad, with the siblings. Yeah, you're there, you're there, but I'm doing me. Right? And I can't be around your negativity because every time we speak on the phone, all you talk about is, Joseph, why don't you go get a real job? I was reading the classified ads and I see they're hiring for this and this. And I'm like, Mom, I'm running a $2 million a year business. Do you not see the man I became? But she didn't have that capacity because she only had a lens of poverty. So I had to get away from that, all those noises, right? And I ended up being the one in my family that made the money. The only one. But I left God behind. I left my family behind. I left everything that mattered behind. And I went atheist, agnostics, and I went down that path of destruction. And I got the money, and I was the first one, right, to do that kind of revenue in my lineage. But lost it all, destroyed everything. So that was the first time I chose to be the one. Any questions around that before I move to the second time?
No, it's kind of riveting. It's just to follow this. So yeah, please keep going.
Yeah, for sure. So the second time I chose to be the one was after I bottomed out. I lost everything. I had to rebuild it all because I partied away like the prodigal son in a foreign land, which was Scottsdale, Arizona, USA, by the way. And I blew through everything for 5 years with loose women. Very prodigal son. And I was left with no friends, no money, alone. And reached out to my oldest sister in Tampa, Florida. And I said, I need help. Can I move in with you? I need to rebuild my life. And I was weeping. And I wanted to end my life at that point because I went from wild success to total failure. Which painted that previous success as, you were just a fraud. You got lucky. Right? And then I came to Tampa, Florida. I started over and I rebuilt and I started doing dead-end jobs and all this stuff. And then I started a new business idea and it failed. And I did another one and it failed. And I had 10 business failures in a row. And man, that seed of disappointment, discouragement came in, the spirits of those, and it just ate away at me. You're a fraud. You're a nobody. You were never successful. You can't do anything with your life. Stop trying. It's pointless. Lies of the enemy, yeah? And man, one thing God put in me, I didn't create it. One thing God put in me, I'm a get back upper. I always get back up. Sometimes I stay down a little too long, but I get back up. And that's how I was doing okay in the first business, right? But after all this failure, like I couldn't figure it out. Why can't I win anymore? I'm tired of losing as a man. I don't feel like a man anymore. Some of your men listeners, they know what that feels like. They're there right now. You lost it. You lost the warrior in you. The guy who just will go eat dirt, go through pain, go through suffering. And you've become undisciplined. And it's pouring into all areas of your life and it's not working. It's pouring into your marriage. It's pouring into your parenting, your fatherhood. It's pouring into your relationship with God. You feel weak. You feel lost. You're drifting. That was me. That was me, right? So I'm trying to get back up and build, but I'm drifting everywhere. Drifting simply means you're aimless and without purpose. And the enemy loves to get men into the drift. Because he will just keep you circling in the windy drift until you die. And then you're the man who dies on a bed alone with regret. And that's his strategy. His number one strategy is to get men to drift until it's over. Right? So I found myself in the drift and I started rebuilding whatever. And then the second defining decision was I felt this quiet, still voice poking at me. Come spend time with me. Come spend time with me. I hadn't heard from God ever. I didn't think it was God. I was just like, what is this annoying voice? I am trying to rebuild my life. Get away from me. And it just persisted and persisted. And I kept resisting and resisting. It was the Holy Spirit speaking into me. But I wanted nothing to do with him because I already painted God as this tyrannical God who looked like my daddy, who a Marine, who forces and shoves his love on us. See, I had dysfunction all over it. That's why I'm the broken Catholic. I'm the poster child for my podcast. Right? Any questions so far?
No, it's interesting. Just like your story, and I'm thinking of we mentioned Ed Milet. It's amazing a lot of the parallels that are there, and that one thing that stands out as men are listening to what you're saying, and I think you pointed that out too. They're identifying. I'm stuck. I'm this. I'm that, and it's like everything just seems in our life, whether it be failure in attempts at maybe a business or whatever it is, but maybe a lot of time moral failures, relationship failures. And it's like, I just feel so disqualified to do anything. And he would say, and we're thinking of Ed, he's like, that's exactly what qualifies you moving forward. You just have to have the right understanding and mindset and realize that that's why it happened to you. And as I'm listening to you, I'm like, no wonder all this alphaness, that you're blessed with, God takes all of that and absorbs it and puts it into that and transforms it. And now, you're helping people who are in those ruts, and you would never be able to have that kind of wisdom, practical wisdom, had you not been able to say, look, I have been there. So
yeah, that's exactly it, right? And a lesson that just has come up recently, I'm going through it right now. I'm being purified by fire. It's freaking fantastic, right? Is I have been running away from pain my whole life. And I have been chasing comfort my entire life. I've held it in my hands. I've caressed it, and then I've lost it. And I've just been a comfort hunter my whole life. That's what society sells us. Just chase comfort. Get comfortable. Get comfortable. Get comfortable. You're in pain? Go sedate so you can get comfortable. You feel alone in your marriage? Go look at porn. Get comfortable. It's like your kids, man, they don't appreciate you. They're ungrateful. Go drink. Go have a beer. It's okay. Have another. Put on the TV. Netflix and chill, you mother effer. You deserve it. How many men fall into that? I fell into that. I've been in that, right? And I'm literally coming out of this tailspin of chasing comfort and avoiding pain my whole life. And it's been the last 4 years, God has brought me into this new decision. This is the second version of the decision to be the one. And I failed it the first time because I left God out of it. So I was being the one without God for my family. Well, that doesn't work. It's not sustainable. I now see that. So now that God's in my life again, and I surrendered to the voice that kept saying, spend time with me. And I finally started spending time in silence and just sitting in quiet in the classroom of silence, as Bishop Sheen says. And I did an hour a day with the creator of the universe, my maker. And I let him heal all my wounds in that 1 hour every day from childhood. My daddy wounds that I was projecting on him. My mommy wounds that I was projecting on Mother Mary and every woman that I was dating. That's why my dating relationships didn't work, by the way. I wouldn't let anyone in. They said, I love you. They got too close. I'd Heisman them, push them away, and make it their fault. I was a very lonely, lonely man. So now here we are, and God's calling me into more. I'm a husband. I'm a father. He blessed me with the girl of my dreams. And for 4 years, right, 4 years ago, like this was 2019, I got into a car accident, man. And my whole world shifted, Peter. I was doing okay again. I had my second business success. I worked it for a few years, and we did pretty good, and I was only working 2 hours a week. I automated everything, collecting a nice check. I got back to comfort. Found her. Got her. Made her my... I was going to say biatch, but you get it, right?
Your mistress.
My mistress. Thank you. That's such a more politically Christian word. Correct. PC word. Yes, I made comfort my mistress again. Okay? So I've constantly been in an affair, a love affair with comfort. And then God interrupted me. And I'm driving in my cherry red MR2 Spider convertible, headed to a family birthday party. Light turns green, I go. Lady runs it. She's right in front of me. I can't even respond. I T-bone her.
Mhm.
Spin her car out. I pop up and just tap my head on the visor. Don't think anything of it. I had the top down. I'm feeling good. It was a sunny blue sky day. I get out to help her. She's all kind of messed up in her shoulder. I think I'm fine. The next day, man, my organs are shutting down, intestines and stuff from severe whiplash complications and all this other stuff, which I had never known about. I had never experienced physical pain in my life in a way that I couldn't control. And I always prided myself on being a highly disciplined individual because I was raised by a Marine. So it's in my blood. And now, all of a sudden, my body starts falling apart. And I am locked up with all my muscles. My neck are in spasms, everything from this whiplash. And I start seeing all these specialists, right? And I hire people. I work on the Buccaneers players and physical therapy. And man, that is so painful. It's like pain on top of the pain to get rid of the pain. And you pay for it. Right? And I did that for like 6-7 months. And it was just causing temporary relief, but it wasn't addressing the core. And then finally I started doing like this upper cervical chiropractic with the best guy. Anyway, I've been at this for like the past 8 months. And most people don't know this because they look at me and they're like, wow, you're like this specimen of a guy or whatever with confidence and certainty. I'm like, yeah, on the inside, I got 5 herniated discs in my neck right now as we're speaking right now, Peter. I drive 6 hours a week to chiropractic care with the top guy in the state. I come home feeling like I just got into an MMA fight because I'm being stretched on those decompression machines. I can't hold my babies. And I have to look my little 3-year-old, my 1.5-year-old in the eye, and now I have a 2-month-old, and say, sorry, Daddy can't pick you up tonight, honey. It's not a good night for Daddy. And that wrecks my heart, man. And I feel powerless as a man, as a husband, as a father. And what I didn't realize was for 4 years of just this physical fighting to get back to my physical invincible self. And I'm in this constant pain with migraines lasting up to 3 days long. And if anyone has ever experienced an all-consuming migraine, it's literally all-consuming. You can't do anything. You can't be kind. And I'm snapping at my wife. I'm snapping at my kids. And I am stepping outside of my values because of pain. Physical pain. I don't know how to respond to physical pain in a way that is helpful. I would react to it and run from it and be bitter rather than better. And that's what I've been doing for 4 years, right? So God has shifted this just recently, and I had a man come into my life, total stranger, and he's an alpha. And I was trying to partner with him in my elite men's coaching and stuff, and let's do a retreat together because you serve 500 men in your thing or whatever. And man, Peter, he looks me in the eye, and he punched me in the throat. Verbally. Can I tell you how?
Please, I'm at the edge of my seat. I'm sure they are too. It's powerful.
Peter, he looks me in the eye, okay? And this is a big alpha guy. He's like 6'2", my height. And he's just diesel, right? And he's like, bro, I ain't partnering with you. I would never put you in front of my guys, my brotherhood. Are you kidding me? I smell weakness all over you. You stink of it. He said, bro, you lost your power. You lack confidence as a man. I'm in my power. You're out of power. I'm in my power. I could help you. Let's get your power back, bro. And he invited me to join his group. And here's what's interesting. I said, bro, I got to be real with you, man. I'm not in a good place financially. He goes, no kidding. You think I didn't know that? He goes, bro, listen, here's the thing, man. You told me about all your medical issues for 4 years and all this stuff. Yeah, they're real issues. I get it. But you've let these medical professionals speak excuses into you. And they're legitimate. but you started to believe them and not realize how powerful you were made and how powerful your mind is and how you could fight against this pain and you could rise above it. But instead, you've been crushed by it. That's why your confidence is gone. You've lost your discipline in your physical self. I wasn't able to work out at the gym for 8 months because of the pain and the migraines, yeah? So physically, I'm just shriveling, declining, everything. Well, here's what I didn't know, is that when a man becomes undisciplined in one area of his life, it pours over into every area of his life. I didn't know that. So God let me live that so that I can now speak to that and serve the men who are stuck in that. There's a man listening right now, watching right now, that's like, holy crap, that's me. You've been running from pain. You react to pain in negative ways. You don't know how to process your negative emotions. You're chasing comfort 24/7. You're sedating. You're tapped out. You're drifting. You're aimless without purpose. As a man, you're exactly where the enemy wants you. And you're saying, I'm okay. I just got to work at it. I wasn't okay. I was declining quickly, and my finances declined. And this guy, man, he spoke it to me, goes, bro, I don't care about the money. You're going to pay me. I don't work for free. But here's where we're going to work out. And he worked out a plan with me, right? And he said, get your butt in here. Let's get your power back so you could serve the men God called you to serve. Stop making excuses. I'm going to steal all of yours. And he did, one after another. He stole every physical excuse I had. So I'm in this process. I'm literally a month in, 1 month, Peter, 1 month in to, instead of running from pain, I said, enough. Never again will I run from pain. You have stolen too much from my life. You have made me show up as a weak-ass father, a failing husband, angry and snapping at the ones I love most. Because, oh, I'm hurting. I'm in pain. F you, pain. F you, adversity, and really, F you, enemy that's using these tools to manipulate me. What I'm saying right now is going to resonate with every man in the world. What do you want to say? What do you want to ask, man? I don't want to hear myself anymore.
Oh, I was waiting for the next thing. I thought we were going to lead right in. I was just going to remind our viewers here. Joseph's originally from Long Island.
Forgive me.
And I'm from New Jersey, so I just feel like I'm with the guys I grew up with, and it resonates though, because one of the big things with what God has been doing with you and is doing, I think, with everybody, but in their own way. But something that's largely ignored is, yes, the first thing we need to do, we need to turn to the Lord. We need to pray. We need to spend our time like you did. We need to be able to hear his voice, listen to him, even not keep going back to Ed Milet, but that was actually just like God spoke to you, God spoke to him, and he just had to listen to God telling him, like, what do you tell me about me from your perspective? And he needed to hear that. But then after that, what you're describing is that we have to reconstruct the human spirit that gets stolen as well. And that's up to us. Like the excuses, all this, I think, since our audience is largely Catholic, is where we get paralyzed, or, well, I would say just with excuses. Well, I'm struggling financially, or this, or, I don't want to be thinking about being successful or wealthy because then I don't want to become attached to money, but it's just all these kinds of things. But then you never go anywhere. You're never formed. You never become a leader. Now, I'm not saying like you become a senator, a president. I mean, maybe you will, but like a leader in your own home, a master of yourself in those areas where God expects us to be a master of ourselves, because grace perfects nature. What nature are we giving him to perfect? He's not going to do it. He's not going to do that part for us. So I think your story is really powerful to encourage people, because this is not just from like rags to riches. It's like an oscillation. It's kind of like stock. It shoots up and then it has a 60% decline, it sounds like. And then you got to turn it back up and just, it's
This is well said.
yeah.
Well said. And that's what my story actually is. It's not your typical business success story where this guy went from poverty and then he became the one in his family and then he made the millions and then life was cherry. No. Life was good for a moment and then it went really dark for a long time, many years. And then he tried again and he failed. And then he tried again and he failed. And then he tried again to get back up and he failed. 10 times he tried to get up and he failed. But he didn't stop. This is what we're called to do as men. You get up and you fight. And you don't stop. And then the enemy tried to hold him down with physical pain and torment and migraines and guilt and shame of what kind of father are you? You won't even pick up your kid? Look at you. Call yourself a Christian? What kind of love is that? That's not love. And he taunts us. And he lies to us. So what are you going to do with that, bro?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to lay down? You're going to die while he steals and hurts and kills your family, your wife and your children and their eternity because you stopped fighting? Yes, the burden of masculinity was put on you. Every man, including me. And I have failed at it. And this is why God's walking me through this furnace of pain right now. Because as I rise this time, never again. And I'm bringing a lot of men with me. And we're going to stop the excuses. We're going to stop failing our wives. We're going to stop failing our kids. We're going to stop failing our God. We're going to stop failing ourselves. The reason why you remain broke if you're financially in that position is not because you think God's not calling you to be rich or whatever biblical excuse you wrapped around that. The real reason is the same as mine. You are scared to do the effing work and face the pain that is required to have the kind of impact that God is calling you to have in this world. And by the way, to have that massive impact requires money. You want to reach millions? God's calling you to. You're going to need millions. That's your reason to go make money. It's not for selfish gain like I did for the first majority of my life. For selfish pleasure. Go make millions of dollars to reach millions of people so that you have eternal impact in this world and die with zero regret as a man. But first, get your butt quiet in silence with God, and as Peter said, let God speak his truth into your broken, hurt, traumatic childhood and steal from you all the daddy wounds that you're hiding behind, all the mommy wounds you're hiding behind, and fill in all those gaps with his love and solidify your foundation as a man in your identity so you know who you are, and from that you build a skyscraper, my brothers. This is what this episode's all about. Is God wants to steal every man's excuses. And he will get your attention however he needs to. And it will hurt a lot of times if you're stubborn and prideful like me. And God used physical pain this final time to get my attention. Never again will I be running from it. Now I lean into it. With an intensity, a battle readiness. Will I fail? Yes, but I will fight. I will not sedate any longer. What are you going to do as a man? Now listen, I can help you. I'm in my power right now. You hear it all over me. I'm oozing it. A month ago, I wasn't. And God put a man in my life who was in his power to speak into me and get my confidence back. And that's all it took. And yeah, I've done a lot of effing hard work. And I've physically been hitting the gym 6 days a week, dominating the pain, the excuses, telling it I'm in charge of my nature, inflicting pain on myself so I no longer run from it. And all you need, brother, wherever you are, is another man to do that for you, who's standing in his power to lean into yours, show you yours, and call you out and steal all your excuses because he's doing it himself.
Yeah. Wow. We can keep going on, but I think it's so important that we actually stop and digest what you've already shared, because it is that starting point. You know, the only thing I was going to ask on top of that as you were talking is, because what's going to go through, you know, my mind and others who are watching is where do I start practically? I mean, in the sense of like, what is a day in the life of Joseph Warren right now? What does that look like? So they could, you know, get an idea of these kind of elements I should be looking to have in my day, and then fill it in.
Yeah, I got it. So I appreciate that. I think it's a popular, common question. It's not enough, not for what we're talking about. We're in spiritual warfare, gentlemen.
Mm.
That's enough for the physical realm. It's not enough for the spiritual battle. And you're in both. You're fighting yourself, right? Your own natural sedations, and you're chasing comfortness. So you're fighting that. You're fighting against your own nature, the fallen nature. And then the enemy's coming at you, trying to rob you, kill, and steal. And you're fighting the spiritual battle. You need tools. Just like anything, you need weapons. So the number one thing you got to do is you got to do what I did a month ago. You got to surround yourself by men who are in it. Men doing it. Men who are no longer living with excuses. They finally chose to be the one in their family. And they're taking it on. And it's hard. But we do hard together. Because if you try to do hard by yourself, you're going to fail. It's just a matter of time. The enemy will catch you on a weekday. A weekday, Monday to Friday. That's not what I meant. Right? A day when you're feeling weak. He'll get you, he'll trip you, and he'll make you slip. And one slip leads to the next slip. And the next slip leads to the next slip. And the third slip leads to the fall. And you're right back into sedation and drifting. And then you're caught up in it. The excuses flood again. So it's not going to work. So what does a day in the life look like? Well, I don't care if it's me or someone else. Find your group of guys. And I'm not talking about the small group of men at your church who are half-assing it. I got that group. I actually started that group. There's 200 guys at my church, and we started on fire, man. 6 a.m. every Tuesday morning, 200 guys showed up. Then we put some leadership in charge or whatever. I was one of the co-founders of that. Put some leadership in charge of it. And you know what they did? They sedated the whole freaking thing. And they stopped rising up to the challenge. And they said, Joseph, men aren't ready for those challenges. I was like, what are you talking about? God wants to sit with every man and pour into his destiny, his identity. The same way he did for me. I'm telling you, I'm a living example of it. They got to go sit in silence. Men don't have time, Joseph, for silence. So you're saying that all these guys who are saying they love God, they want more, they don't have time for God. That's what you're saying. No, we're not saying that. We just, they could do 10 minutes. But they can't do 20. They can't do 30. Joseph, there's no way they could do an hour. How do you know?
Exactly.
How do you know? You're pushing more men away from God than you are to him. Listen, truth cuts. Why does it cut? Because it forces you to decide. It backs you into a corner. This is why I'm an excellent coach for men at all levels of success. Because I am the world's only irritational coach. And I back men into a corner with truth. not condemnation, truth. I force them to decide. And it's uncomfortable and it's hard. And there's two types of men that hear this type of message. The man that makes me wrong, this guy's a jerk. This Joseph's an a-hole. This is how he talks to his guys? I would never. I would do it differently. Yeah, and you're failing in your marriage, aren't you? Or look in the mirror. You like what you see? Well, I mean, I'm okay. I realize I'm a little overweight. I got some work to do. What do you think it's like for your wife when she looks at you? Does she like what she sees? That stings. Yeah. And we're men. Every child looks at their dad as Superman, right? When they're young. I did. And we keep looking at dad as Superman. He's invincible until we come to the age of reason. And we see dad is now actually, in reality, one of two things. Dad's a fraud because he's weak and he's undisciplined and he gave up and he stopped fighting and he's sedating and he's drifting. And now we actually get resentful and bitter towards dad and we want nothing to do with him and we got... I don't want to hear what you got to say, Dad. Why? Because I don't want to be like you. I don't want to look like you. You're a fat slob. No offense, Dad. I love you. But you let your whole stuff go to crap, man. I don't want that. It's not the man I want to be. Now, we're just talking about lack of physical discipline, right? And what he's shoving down his face. And he's not even going to the gym anymore, whatever it is. Or the dad decided to keep fighting. And when his son comes to that age of reason, he's like, wow, dad really is Superman. I want to be just like this guy. He gets up and fights for mom every day. He fights for me. He loves me. So where are you right now, brother, as you're listening right now? Which version of dad have you become to your children? And if you feel like a fraud, you know, one of the biggest things on my podcast, Peter, especially my business show, is imposter syndrome. At the highest levels of success, right? You hear it all the time.
Right.
I just feel like, I'm a fraud, man. Dude, you're making $100 million a year and you feel like a fraud in business? I know. I don't know where it comes from. I feel like an imposter in my own life. Like everyone's going to find out. I actually don't know what I'm doing. Hear it all the time, right?
Right.
So if you're a husband, if you're a father and a businessman who feels like a fraud, here's why. This is going to sting. It's because you are. You stop fighting. You've become undisciplined in one or more areas of your life, and now it's leading to decline in all areas. You stop fighting for that woman that you love, that you married, that you prayed for. God gave her to you, and now you're treating her the way you treat her? And she's wrong all the time? You self-righteous mother effer. I get it, I am you. But I didn't stay there.
Yeah, I think of as you're saying that, it's interesting because we have it's and I've enjoyed just allowing you to speak without interruption, because pauses are also good too. I remember Fulton Sheen talking about this and talking about ways he says, look, you're either moving forward or you're moving backward. The Holy Spirit is never static. And if you say I'm the same as I was a year ago, you're worse because the Spirit always moves forward. And what you're talking about is exactly what we have to be reminding ourselves. Like you said, you have to have the tools. You have to have the mindset. You have to train it. It's not just going to happen to you. And I love what you were saying too. It's the emphasis is wholeness, an integral Christian life
Yes.
is critical. You cannot, if you raise one, you'll raise the other. And pretty soon, all these arenas of your life are going to be raised. But like you said, you start slipping in one, it's going to slip in the other. So it's not to overwhelm us. Like, how do I do all these things? But you can do what we both heard from many others is you can do it for one day. Because when you think about, oh gosh, Sheen did his holy hour for 60 years unbroken. I don't know if I can do that, but you can do it tomorrow. Or what's like, can you, depending on the time of the day when you hear that message, I can do it right now. I can do it today. And then I can do it tomorrow and then focus on that. And that's how you can overcome each thing. Maybe it might take a little bit of time, but it may happen a lot faster than you think when you are that determined, because you also then you experience the fruits of that. And so I appreciate, and I know our listeners are greatly appreciating these pearls that you're sharing, because it is what keeps us stuck. And we are at war. And as men, we do need that sergeant sergeants don't really care, but they do move people. But you'll have, imagine let's say a general would be a better one. Generals understand the battle plan. They know what it takes. They fought in it. And so they also have you could say the right to be able to call it out, because they know what these younger guys don't know, or those who are stuck, yes, what it's going to take to win this. And they're not going to promise you anything other than if you follow what they tell you, we're going to win this war. And so I thank you for all that you've shared, Joseph. We're at the end of our time. I would like to let everyone know how they can follow what you're doing. If they got questions, about the coaching, like, man, I need this kind of really this strength, this power pulling me to my goal. How can they find you? Where should they go from here?
Yeah, cool. 2 types of men listening right now. You're the guy who's not ready, or you're the guy who's ready. The guy who's not ready has been making me wrong this whole time, saying this is too much. I don't like his language. I don't like his look. I don't like his accent. He's from New England. This guy's a jerk. Great. You're not my guy. You're not ready. You're living in excuse land, bro. I don't want you. Get the F out of my life. You're in my way. Go back to your drifting. Don't worry. It will all be over soon. Or you're the other man that goes, oh my gosh, this is what I've been waiting for. I'm so ready. I will do whatever it takes. I need someone to speak into me this way. I will fight for my wife. I will fight for my kids. I will fight for myself. I need a purpose. I need an aim. I'm tired of drifting. I'm tired of running from pain. And you're the guy who's ready. Ready for what? To make a definitive decision. Never again will you miss. Never again. See, because Peter, the advice you gave is good. And it's what's very common. Right? In the Catholic space, you could do Exodus 90, and those guys come in and they physically dominate themselves and they feel some discipline. They do it for 90 days with some other guys, and then they fade. They go right back to sedation. We did at my church 3 times. 3 times. And I watched guys just fade. And you know what the number one thing they all struggled with? It wasn't the cold showers. It was the 1 hour with God in silence.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, across the board, right? And I spoke with one of the founders because we brought him out as a speaker. And he said nationwide, 10, 20, 30,000 guys, however many guys, that's the number one area is the holy hour, the quiet time, the classroom of silence, Bishop Sheen, right? The number one area that men resist and fight. Yet it's where all the gold is. You're 3 feet away from gold, my brothers, but you won't sit your butt down for 60 minutes with your maker. That's why you don't get it, right? And that's why you're financially broke and you have all your excuses, whatever, right? All right, so if you're that guy who's ready to make a definitive decision, you may be ready for me. I'm in my power. You're out of power. Let's get you in your power. I love you. Let's go. I have a program. I'll share it in a second. But if you're that other guy who hasn't made the decision, never again, enough is enough, I'm done with this, I choose to be the one in my family. See, if you're not definitive, you're just looking for the next fad, the next diet, the next spiritual diet. Exodus 90, spiritual diet. Oh, look at me. I feel like a man. And then you're done. And you go back to being whatever you want to call yourself, a fraud to your family. You're failing them, bro. That's fine. Keep doing it until God gives you enough pain for you to get definitive and make the decision. So my point was that, and let me just wrap up on that. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if you haven't made the definitive decision to go do battle and be ready to die, you will lose every time. But if you have made the definitive decision, you don't even need the best strategy in the world and you can succeed and win many battles. Just by becoming a force of nature that's unstoppable because you're moving with certainty and it's God's strength moving in you and yours isn't enough anyway and you don't even need yours. God's just waiting for your decision, not your power, not your strength. You think he's relying on you? Bro. You prideful mother effer. You got nothing to give him. And he wants to give you everything. But he waits for your free will to decide. That's the only thing between you and what you want is the decision. So here's the decision. So I have a program. It's called Shredded Fathers. Shredded Fathers. How do you like that? We're going to get you shredded physically. We're going to get you shredded mentally. Mental toughness. We're going to get you shredded spiritually. We're going to get you sitting in God and with God in conversations in silence and him speaking your destiny into you and healing you of all your excuses. Body, mind, and spirit. We're made three. You spoke to this, Peter. Wholeness as a man. That's what I do. That's how I'm living. And we're going to steal all your excuses as a man. And you're going to rise up as a husband and a father and a businessman who's going to make a lot more money. Because when you show up as a man with certainty and definitiveness, and you fight into pain, you lean into adversity, you are one attractive mother effer. Let's just be real, right? And this is a natural thing, right? It's sexual expression. You wouldn't think sexual expression, that's just for my marriage. No, sexual expression helps a man to dominate in business. You ever see a man who's like so disciplined? And you're a man who's not attracted to men. You love your wife and all that, right? But you see this man, you're like, wow, this guy's like on fire, man. I just want to be around him. You're drawn to him. He's got a magnetism. That's sexual expression. All right? We're going to turn that up in you, man. And money's going to follow you. And then you're going to have more impact. Shredded Fathers. It's shreddedfathers.com. And by the way, we're bringing in Protestant pastors. We're bringing in Catholic priests. And we're getting them shredded physically. They're going to have actual six-pack abs. Why?
That's
because
awesome.
us men, you want to get real? Let's get real for a second.
Yeah.
We look at our priests and our pastors, Protestant or Catholic, right? Doesn't matter. And these guys are walking around like fat slobs. They are spiritually preaching all this discipline stuff that we men need to do as husbands and fathers. And then they let their physical being go to crap. Slop. Look at the obesity out there. Well, they forgot the basic rule of masculine leadership. A man looks at another man, and if he doesn't want to be like him or be where he is or look like him, he's not listening to him. So the outside packaging actually has to be in alignment with the inside integrity and message. So we're going to get these Catholic priests in shape, and we're going to have before and after pictures that are going to blow their congregation's mind. Could you imagine how inspiring that would be to see your priest or pastor go from overweight, obese, to all of a sudden, a few months later, he's like this shredded, ripped diesel dude, and you're like, how did you do that, Father? I want some of that. And man, when that man now stands up on a pulpit and preaches, his words are going to carry weight, not just his skeleton. His words are going to carry weight, and men will follow him. So shredded fathers, right? Spiritual fathers and dads. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. I love how that's focused too, because I know you have other addresses. So I'm not, if you didn't mention them, I won't. So we can focus on that because that really is the need right now. I mean, gosh, it gets me worked up. That's kind of where I say that is where I'm at. And thanks be to God, what every day that I commit to those things, I have to do all of them. If I don't work out, it definitely affects my prayer. It certainly affects my mental state.
Mm-hmm.
And when life was busiest and hardest, that's when I had to do it more. And thanks be to God, every time I did, I didn't like it, I hated it. But the second I was done and I moved on to the next thing, I was like, boom, check. Like you just feel whole as a man. So thank you, Joseph, for giving us a nice break, you could say, in so many of the different things that we talk about on our podcast. This is what it's all about. It's called the Catholic Patriot. Patriot is much more than just like your love of your country. It speaks about where it comes from being a father. And you got to be solid. I mean, your love's got to have every spectrum within that, not just an emotional sense. Like it drives to perfection. It drives to give everything of yourself. And I thank you just for being raw with us. It's like, watching people are going to watch Father Stu without knowing what Father Stu, like who he was. And they did all these family groups from parishes. And I was like, oh my gosh, they didn't check it. But that's what that's what we need, because it's not a metaphor. It's not just a phrase, a catchphrase. We are at war, and they're coming for our marriages. They're coming for our kids, and they're coming for everything. The devil wants to suck the life out of us like never before in history. And so it's like, it's extreme. You're either going to rise and you're going to become a leader, or you're going to get swept away.
Do you know why the darkness is spreading right now? There's so many, Catholic and Protestant husbands that are just complaining about, oh, look at all this stuff, LGBT, all this stuff, they're taking over. You know why? Because you're not rising up.
Yeah.
And they're certain. They are moving with certainty. And man, people listen to it. It's, again, attractive. That's why they're taking over the media. That's why they're taking over this. And they are coming for your family, bro. And you could pretend they're not because they're still in California and you're on the East Coast. Oh boy, they are coming for you. And God's waiting for you to flip your switch, man. And it's the upper room moment, bro. This is the Holy Spirit, and you're going to break open the doors and say, F you, let's go. Let's do battle. I will be more certain than you with all your poison and evil at my kids. I will win. I got God on my side. What do you got? Yourself. Like, this is what men got to do. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. So don't do it alone. That's just prideful. Join me. Join someone else. Get in a group of guys. I don't know if really many other guys do what I'm doing now. Like, the guy who got me, they're a secular group, right? So they were doing it without God. But they're inspiring as F, man, because they're just hitting that raw primal masculinity. And you're like, I want that. I forgot what it's like to be a man, to feel my power. Yeah, well, what if we actually take that and now apply it to godly things? Amen. We will win. Are you kidding me? This is what the church fathers did. They were men. And all you spiritual leaders out there, you priests, you shepherds of all us men out there, like, I got to say something to you, and then we'll finish here, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Peter, you remember in the Bible when shepherds were real men? They fought lions and wolves to protect their flock. Lions and wolves risked their life, took on pain and suffering, sat all day, walked all day. That was their life. They just lived in that because they loved more than they hurt. And we got all these spiritual shepherds up here. And what are they doing? They can't even fight their urge to go eat another donut, let alone fight lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And men are sick of it. We look at you as frauds. If you're real, that's how we look at you. We won't say it to your face. But we're waiting for you to rise up and we're tolerating your ass because you're not leading us. And that's a call out from Broken Catholic. And I may lose all my listeners. Let's go. Let's go. The bottom line is this. Why do I raise my voice? Why do I lean in so hard? Why do I do this? Because men are sedated across the world. And there's only one way to wake them up. You have to punch them in the throat and get their attention. And force them into a corner to make a decision. Some will fall away and go back to sedation. And some will lean in and take this on. I'm looking for that guy.
There you go. And it's shreddedfathers.com, right?
That's it. Shreddedfathers.com. We're putting it all together, baby. Let's go, God.
Hey, everybody should at least go and check this out and be open, because we're at a time where you got to be open for the prompting. So cut the stuff out, cut out the noise, the things that are unnecessary, so you can get focused. Like Joseph said, like Sheen has said, like I always say, if you're going to start somewhere, at least start with that hour. Let God do not just the knocking. He will do a lot of things in this hour. That's why it's great that it's an hour. But give him that chance, and believe me, and just be prepared. He is going to ask something directly of you. He's not just going to let you sit there and wait for the next one. And you can start that today. So start doing that. It will take you seconds to go to shreddedfathers.com and let the Holy Spirit go from there. Joseph, it's been great having you on, just eating up what you said, but it all means nothing if we don't put these things into action. So I want to call everybody to that action step right now. Even if you have to write it down, I don't care. We're writing it down. It always makes you closer to obtaining that goal, but make it simple and something you're not going to break. So Joseph, thank you. It's been inspiring, and I wish you and your family every blessing, every success in your new program. I do pray that God just floods it with men, because we need them. So God bless, and thanks so much.
Thanks, Dr. Peter. You're a rock star, bro. Love you, man.
Love you too, brother. All right. That was awesome. I'll do outro and stuff later on.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, brother. Seriously, that was just getting to this point was like a battle, and then here we are.
There's a reason. The enemy didn't want us. Reason.
Yeah.
The enemy doesn't want to speak in truth like this out to the world.
No.
And like, I'm turning it up, bro. Like the way I'm speaking, you've probably seen a shift. Like, I'm not going soft anymore, man. I've been soft on Broken Catholic for 5 years. And here's the dirty little secret. Because I wanted listeners, and I wanted people to accept me. I wanted people to like me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted comfort. There's comfort in that. And I was running from the pain of adversity and speaking truth to the point where people like, you're wrong, you're whatever, right? Judging me, criticizing me, falsely accusing me. I didn't want that pain. But I made the decision now. And I'm there. And that's what it's going to look like for the rest of my life. Yeah. And I believe God is about to do some massive stuff here, man. So I'm still, just FYI, when are you launching this show, this episode?
Let's see. What's today? Today's Friday.
Yeah, man.
It will be launched the Monday, not this coming Monday, but the following Monday.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. So yeah. So I'm literally working with the best shredded guy in the world, right? This guy that hired me. And he gets men over 40, dads, right? He gets them ripped, shredded six-packs in their physiology. Like, he's got 500 guys that are shredded. And the before and after transformations are, like, undeniable at this point. He just has so much proof, so much evidence. You're like, okay, I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to do the hard. Why? Because I want that. Right? And that's just the physical component. And I was lacking that in my coaching. Like, I didn't even know that was a need. And God's like, okay, you have taught men to get shredded. We didn't use that language before, but to get shredded spiritually and mentally. I did a lot of mindset, but I wasn't even touching the physical component of men.
Yeah.
And that's why God let me go through all this physical pain and everything, to realize how much I had let mine slip and how it now declined, right? My spiritual. right? I stopped doing my holy hours. I was just taking these breaks or whatever, right? Because I was just exhausted. Like pain is just
Hmm.
like, ah, right? And then mindset, I'm slipping and everything. So now I could come in and be like, okay, we're going to hit all three, bro. And I literally just got the cheat code for getting shredded over 40 if you just do the hard work and staying that way for the rest of your life. It's a lifestyle. It's not like a fad thing, right?
Hmm. Yeah, you
So
got to
I've
keep, well,
been,
especially you got to work at it now over
bro,
40.
I've never had defined abs my whole life, right? And I've never like had to try. I was always like thin and lean and stuff, but I've always kind of wanted that.
Hmm.
Before it was for ego, but now I'm gonna do it because I just want to master my discipline here physically, right? As I'm in this massive pain with 5 herniated discs, like if I could do that while that's happening, which I'm going to do, I just
Hmm.
stole like 90% of the excuses for men. Right? So now I can lean in with that authority, like you said, like a general, and say, I'm doing it. What's your deal? Like, you either want this or you don't. Get out of my way. Get out of my world, bro. Or lean in. Like, and that's the beauty of it. So I just want to share that with you, like I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited about that, man. I'm hoping, like maybe you have some interest there, if you want to get shredded.
Well, I'm working on it right now. That
Uh-huh.
the last few months I have well, even more, well, let's see. It's been over a year, but I've intensified. I've ratcheted it up over the last 4 months with, gosh, I mean, for me, it's been pretty massive shifting and changing. So that's been awesome. And right now my focus is to get through my summer because I'm on the road for the next like 6 weeks.
It's challenging.
And then and keeping so as we're talking, it's like it's keeping up with those things while I'm on the road. So before I left, I'm like, okay, I'm if I have access to a gym, I'll use that. But it's most of what I do, I don't need anything like that. But it was like, okay, I'm gonna get my bands. So like I don't have to
Yeah.
rely on weights. I got my bands. I got my stuff for my hit exercises. And then it's the nutrition, and then
The
it's
nutrition, bro. I've
and
never tracked my nutrition my whole life.
it's
Never.
crazy how what a difference that makes. I
Oh
mean,
my
like even like over
gosh.
one day, I've known I was like, oh my gosh, like
Bro, like my abs have just like I'm so close right now, right? Because I've never tracked fat.
mm,
And I've been
yeah,
just overeating. Why? Because I have a high metabolism, so I got away with it my whole life. But like, I'm 47 now.
yeah.
You don't get away with stuff anymore
No,
physically,
you don't.
right? And
No.
it's like it's crazy. So like this guy, he's got the cheat code. So he's shredded, which is awesome, right? You would expect that. His wife is shredded, 5 kids, shredded. She just won a major bodybuilding whatever competition, but not like this huge woman or whatever. And she runs a fitness thing for moms, right? And then they got the 5 kids and a daughter and 4 boys from like 16 years old all the way down to like the girls like 4 or 5. They're all shredded abs.
Hmm.
Like I've never seen that on kids. And he goes, I cracked the code. I got myself shredded, my wife shredded, all my kids are shredded. I could get any man in this world shredded and stay shredded. Like, and he has, and I'm watching it with 500 guys. It's working for me already, and he literally has partnered with me now that he sees my power coming back. Praise God, I'm not a weak sauce anymore. That hurt, by the way, when he said that to me.
Oh, I can just imagine.
Oh, he. Do you think I'm leaning in? He does it with f bombs, like right
Yeah.
without God, just like f bombs. But it's like he's like, bro, I want you to take everything I'm doing, literally duplicate it. You have my permission to take my entire program, my code, my everything, and go do it and add you now with the twist of God on this, man. You're going to serve so many, man. And I'm just like, whoa. Like, what a twist of fate. A guy
Hmm.
that is so abundance minded. He does 160,000 a month right now with his program, right? Just moved into a big mansion and stuff like that. And he goes, bro, you're going to do the same thing, but with God. Let's go. And then a month after knowing him, and I'll finish here, he does a meditation or whatever, and he has an encounter, like a real encounter with Jesus. And he
Amen.
calls me and he goes, guess what happened? I met Jesus. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I met him and I spoke with him and I felt loved and peace that I've been chasing my whole life, bro. Like, he's crying. And he's like, man, I don't know what he's doing, but I want more of it. So now, like these 500 men, he's going to start to lead to God because he's shifting spiritually. He's getting shredded spiritually. And I'm in his life kind of like coming back at him as well. And he's like, bro, we're going to take over everything, man. Let's go. And it's like really cool, dude.
Because the foundation's there. That's what we're talking about. It's like, when God gets a grip of that kind of a man, like you look around, you see it and you're like, oh man, that guy's powerful. I imagine if like God really had him and just took that to a God level and he's already giving him, it's like, whoa,
this is it.
That's it. Yeah.
So I'm going to say this, something to you. You do whatever you want. I want you to be part of Shredded Fathers. I want you in it. Okay? There will be an investment. I want you in it. I want you to just to lean in. I get you got your whole program and your thing and you do it on your own or whatever. But I want you to be part of this movement of men. Why? Because you're doing Catholic Patriot. You're doing Fulton Sheen movement. And this is going to pour into all of that. When you take your discipline in all three areas to the next level, it's going to pour into everything you're doing. And you're going to win like even bigger and more impact for God. And that's what we got to do. And we got to do it together. So I want you to consider it. I'm not asking for anything whatsoever. Okay?
Okay.
But like sit with that.
And
give me a few more weeks till I get my abs like really transformed so that I can authentically say, look what I did, mother effers. What's your excuse, right? And then I'm going to reach back out to you. And I'm going to be like, Peter, let's go. I want you in, right? All right, so it's going to be thousands of dollars to just kind of like put that there or whatever for the whole year. And I need you for a year. And you're going to have a whole group of men doing this. And we're going to all do it together online. And it's going to be daily accountability and everything. And you're going to love it. There's going to be priests and pastors in it. And then a lot of dads. And you're going to get so fired up, man, in your own discipline in all areas of your life, just being around other men that are robbing you of your excuses. We all have them. All right?
All right.
Okay, my brother.
All right.
All right. Have a blessed day.
Thanks, you too.
As soon as this processes, I'll send it to you. I'll send you the video on YouTube as well if you want that. All right. And we'll get that to you.
Sounds good. Right, hey, sounds great.
Peace, God bless you, bro. Your family.
You too.
Chantel.
I know. All right.